Before we begin, I would like to thank this video's sponsor, a Roblox group called Das Konigreich of Prussia, a history-themed roleplay group centered around Prussia, run by my good friend Ice Cream McGuy. Link will be in the description, and tell them all I sent you. I'm not speaking for everyone here, but I think everyone has had that phase where they were obsessed with everything World War II. I know I did. Mine started when I learned that Call of Duty World War II existed. Although I'm older now and I know better, World at War is actually the best Call of Duty World War II themed game. Again, not speaking for everyone here, but I think we all had very basic understandings of the combatants. At least I did, again. I'm not going to be like, you like World War II. Anyways, I thought that the war was just Germany, Japan, and Italy versus Britain, Russia, and America, instead of this beautiful chart. And I also didn't know colonies existed, so all of this happened with modern borders, I guess. I was a weird kid. Back to that beautiful chart from earlier, you can see that more countries participated in the war than not. One of these countries was Hungary. Now, you can clearly see that Hungary is on this side, implying that they like Nazi Germany. While this is technically true, Hungary was like that character in movies who is on the enemy team, but he knows he is on the wrong side. Now, without further nonsense, here is World War II according to Hungary. We begin with a man named Miklos Horthy. Horthy is a commander in the Austro-Hungarian Navy. He is serving in World War I, leading a fleet on a tour of the Mediterranean. Then Austria-Hungary does the thing. The fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire is a story for another time, but what you need to know is that all of the ethnic groups in Austria-Hungary decided that they wanted to kill the government and each other at the same time. After the empire began to collapse, Horthy returned to Vienna to see the emperor one last time, where he supposedly broke down crying, saying that he will never rest until I have restored your majesty to his throne in Budapest and Vienna. And thus began the tale of Hungary in World War II. After beating out the communists from Hungary, which is also a story for another time, Horthy and some supporters declared a new government, known as the Kingdom of Hungary. Horthy's foreign policy was to restore Austria-Hungary back to its former glory. But how do you get all of your land back? You can't just invade your neighbors without someone taking notice. If only there was another country that also lost World War I and was planning on regaining its empire that it had there. Boy, do I have the surprise for you. Germany was also planning to expand. They invaded Austria, took the Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia, and are planning on taking over the rest of it. Hungary strikes a deal with Germany to award them part of Czechoslovakia. The First Vienna Award gave Hungary control over border areas with Czechoslovakia. Afterwards, Hungary, the sneaky little devils, also invaded Carpatho, Ukraine, a bean-shaped piece of land in eastern Czechoslovakia with many ethnic Hungarians. Now Hungary looks like this, but they're trying to look like this. You can see this part right here is part of Austria, which is part of Germany, and the Germans aren't just going to give up land, of course. But before the Anschluss in 1934, the Hungarian part of Austria began revolting and declared independence. Austria promised them that they would hold a referendum on whether or not to join Hungary or stay in Austria. Who will the vote go to? Who will win? Will the Hungarians remain divided, but Austria rigged the election? Outraged that they were being scammed, the people in West Hungary began another revolt, but this one was also crushed shortly afterwards. Hungary wasn't officially part of the Axis by this point, but they were somewhat rooting for the Axis. The Second Vienna Award pushed Hungary closer to them. The Soviets demanded that Romania return the modern-day regions of Moldova and the Ukrainian Panhandle, known as Bessarabia. Hungary, using clever diplomacy, took this as the Romanians saying that they didn't want their new lands anymore. Hungary geared up to take northern Transylvania, primarily so that they could film the Hotel Transylvania franchise. Terrible movies. Why did I put that in there? Troops were lining up on the borders of both countries, and it looked like war was inevitable. But Germany stepped in, offering to defuse the situation, giving the territory to Hungary. One of the many reasons Hungarians and Romanians hate each other nowadays. When Italy launched their invasion of Greece in 1940, they heroically steamrolled the Greek forces, taking Athens in a week. Just kidding, they got their butts kicked. Germany decided to help Italy, but they needed to put the Balkans under their sphere. So they sent an ultimatum to the Balkan states: join us or else. Romania and Bulgaria joined. Yugoslavia joined as well, but their king was literally deposed the next day in favor of his brother, who decided that Nazism is cringe. When the Axis invaded Yugoslavia, Hungary joined in and annexed more of their former territories, expanding Hungary to look like this. When Germany began Operation Barbarossa, Hungary delayed joining the war, but later sent 2 divisions to help out in the Battle of Stalingrad, where they were the first victims of the Soviet advance, getting what I and many others in my field who also have PhDs in YouTube history call getting absolutely wrecked, with a K. The Prime Minister of Hungary, Laszlo Bardasi, was quite Naziist, passing a law that banned Jews from marrying non-Jews. Horthy was furious by this and fired Bardasi, replacing him with more moderate Miklos Kale. Kale had a different approach. He would continue helping Germany against Russia, they were friends, but they also entered peace negotiations with the Allies. This was bad news for Germany, who wasn't having any of this, and they invaded Hungary, setting up a puppet government under the Arrow Cross Party, who were basically just the Hungarian NSDAP. Horthy fled the government, but he knew he wouldn't have to remain in hiding for long, because the Soviets were coming. The United States knew that Horthy really wasn't a bad dude, but they knew that the Soviets thought otherwise, so they staged an arrest for him. "Oh no, you were the ruler of a country that supposedly committed war crimes. We're bringing you to West Germany to try you. Surprise, you're acquitted. Why can't I go back to..." After the war, Hungary was turned into a communist country. They tried to break free in 1956, but to no success. A year later, in 1957, Horthy passed away. He was buried in England, but his dying wish was to have his body moved to Hungary after the communist government fell. His wish was granted in 1991 when his body was moved to his family estate in eastern Hungary.